joining me is the panel, former Labor Senator Steve Conroy, former Cabinet Minister, and finally back from his holiday, Michael Kroger, the former Victorian Liberal President. Michael Kroger, it's great to see you back after so long, although I can talk. The list of attacks on businesses I've just read out, nothing to help them. What's going on?
So, mate, the reason they're doing this is because they can. I mean, this is a very left-wing government that is, pushing its army forward on a whole range of issues. The Voice is one where they're running into massive resistance, but they don't run into much resistance on industrial relations changes because the business community has never been weaker. It's never been more insipid. It concentrates on social issues, on supporting the Voice, etc. It never talks much about, record profits. It doesn't trumpet, its performance outperforming its previous years. So when the business community are basically not so much interested in their own performance, but more interested in these social causes, the government thinks, well, how weak and timid are they? Where is the leadership? Who are the great business leaders in Australia today? So without opposition, they're just forcing their soldiers, through the front, and they'll just continue to do it because they're not facing much opposition.
Now, Stephen Conroy, I have no doubt that take each one separately. You as former Labor Minister, you as a former union official would say, well, that's good for the workers. And, I can't argue against some of that. But it all assumes en masse that businesses can keep taking the hits, keep absorbing the costs, keep absorbing the restrictions to their productivity, and nothing's going to give. But it will, won't it?
Well, seriously, I've never heard such complete rubbish in my life. As Michael actually was fact-free there. Let's just have two simple facts on the table before you want to rail against these IR changes. The first is the profit share in the economy versus wages is one of the highest it's ever been. Businesses are absolutely ripping people off at the moment. They're hiding behind there's inflation. Absolutely. In supermarkets, in airfares, in just about every sector you want to talk about, the profit gouging being undertaken by companies is out of control. And you've just got to look at the basic facts.
Which companies, Stephen?
All of them. The profit share in this company, the profit shares in this country, Coles and Woolies. Let's just start with the retail sector. Okay. The profit share totally across the economy is the highest it's been. First fact. Second fact, real wages have been stagnant or falling for 10 years. So the industrial relations system, which you and Michael want to protect, has actually failed. Miserably failed. Labor went to the election saying it was going to make changes, and these are modest, pragmatic, sensible changes which will begin to see wages rise in the economy. Before you suddenly say that's terrible, I want to repeat.
I said individually, some of those things, almost all those things, you probably say that's nice for some workers. My point is, en masse, how's it going to affect business? Because Michael,
these workers have been getting screwed by this system.
These changes don't just apply now when Steve says it's all gravy for businesses. They go into the future affecting productivity. That's the issue here.
Productivity has been falling for 10 years under the last government. The current system was not delivering wage rises and falling.
That OECD report on profit gouging, by the way, has been rejected by many people. So listen, it has been. The bottom line is this, Stephen. Your government is your mates are trying to defy the laws of economics and gravity, and as we've seen from your great friend here in Victoria, that doesn't work. The only way to increase real wages on a serious long-term basis to increase productivity. Every man and his dog knows that. Parrots are, in pet shops are on about it. That's the only way you increase wages long-term. And this whole notion that somehow you can just continually
failed.